This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. I'm Jack Hirsch with my co-host, I should say his co-host, John Mac McGrath. Welcome to the Mac and Jack show this morning. And sports is around the clock, 365 days a year. And there was a time when the thought of Thursday night football, it would have been ludicrous to even think the NFL playing on Thursday night. But now it's Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, some Saturday games during the year. But last night's game, it was a bit of a somber experience. We're going to talk about the game, and it was a really big game. The Cincinnati Bengals, the defending AFC champions, against the unbeaten Miami Dolphins, who've been a pleasant surprise this year, who look like perhaps they could make a Super Bowl run. They were playing in a really compelling matchup. And the two young quarterbacks, Joe Burrow of the Bengals, already considered by many to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Tua Tagovailoa, who was a little slow to start his NFL career. He's in his third season, but he's progressing very nicely. And then just one hit puts everything in perspective. Tua is hit, he's hurt, he's carried out on a stretcher. And a lot of people feared the worst, but fortunately, the news that came in after, he was moving all his extremities and reportedly was supposed to have flown back with the team back to Miami. The game was in Cincinnati yesterday. So we feel great about that, but it puts things in perspective. The amount of injuries we have in the NFL, Mac, can we truly continue to love this game with what's going on, the amount of players we get to see hurt? Doesn't it finally get to us after a while? Doesn't it perhaps wear us down that there are more important things maybe than the game itself? That's what some people are asking this morning. With that said, we love football. We love sports. The players know the risk that they're taking involved. But when we keep getting these injuries, the type 2 I had yesterday, Mac, that's not like a pulled hamstring. That's not even like a devastating injury that would be like a torn ACL. And ironically, Tua is going to be back this season, unlike someone who has the injury I just mentioned. But to see someone carted off on a stretcher, sometimes you wonder, is it worth it? To us as fans, we're not the ones that's suffering, but you kind of wonder the players. What makes it worth it to them, Mac?
Well, they've been doing this all their life. They know the risk, Jack, of playing in the National Football League, and you're going to get hurt. I mean, not everybody's Jim Jeffcoat. You're going to get hurt quite a bit. And they love the game, and they continue to play for the love of the game. I think, when it comes to injuries, I mean, you could injure yourself in the shower, Jack, right? I mean, you could fall down in a shower and injure yourself. It can happen at any time. And you're playing a very physical game. And this is expected now. And I think that the NFL has done a great job in concussion awareness and the new helmets they've built for concussions. So concussions are way down. But you can't protect the players from themselves. They don't want to be protected. They want to continue to play football. So I love the game of football. I love everything that comes with it. Yeah, I think football is the game that's physical and attracts everyone.
Wait, Mac, you played on a lower level than the NFL. Did you ever get injured?
Oh yeah, definitely, and I got carried off the field one time.
Okay, Mac, were you ever carried out of the shower because you had an accident in the shower? People come up with that comparison. I was going through my files. Was cleaning up my boxing stories I wrote. And I wrote a story once on the Bayonne bleeder, Chuck Wepner.
Right.
And I've written so much, Mac, over the years. I don't remember the vast majority of what I've written, or even the vast majority of fights I've covered. because there have been so many. I remember the big ones, yes. And Chuck Wepner was complaining about a fight he had in England against the former heavyweight contender Joe Bugner, in which they stopped the fight in Bugner's favor because Wepner was cut. And Wepner said the referee panicked because all he had was a little nick, the type he gets while he's shaving.
Right.
Then I saw parentheses that said, editor's note, Wepner must have had a pretty unsteady hand with the razor because according to our report, he had 60 stitches. You know, they went back into the files to check on what Wepner was saying, like a little nick. Yeah. I don't want to hear you could hurt yourself this way, hurt yourself that way. When Muhammad Ali had Parkinson's, they were speculating, well, maybe he fell off his bicycle when he was younger that caused it. The NFL is brutal. There's no getting around it. The hits are really hard. And the league used to glorify it, Mac. Remember, they'd have those highlights of one player blindsiding the quarterback, you know, the hard head-on collisions. But then they started seeing the safety concerns, the long-term effects. And then the NFL started cooling it. And I do give the NFL a lot of credit, Mac. They have tried to make things safer. And you had players, especially defensive linemen, complaining, well, we can't hit the quarterback anymore, this and that. Well, you adjust in how you tackle them. You don't just drive them into the ground. And I guess you could adjust to any type of new rule made. But there's no getting around it. I mean, players, Mac, Sterling Shepard, he's running a pass pattern and he's injured. No one even hit him.
Right.
No one even hit him. And that scares the heck out of me in a way because I like to go out and jog. I'm older, so all I've been doing is jogging. But I'm telling myself, even at my advanced age, I might want to start doing a little speed work.
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm going to start running quick and I'm going to pull up injured.
Well, you know, Jack, me and Jim talk about this at length, you know, how they just look at the quarterback cross-eyed and got a penalty. But even now, he's come to the realization with me that you just can't lay the quarterback out. We're surprised there's not more penalties being called than there is right now. I mean, when that quarterback is unprotected and he's got rid of the ball, and you're gonna plant this guy, you've got to be called for the penalty.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But you have certain running quarterbacks in the league, like you have a Lamar Jackson. Right. He's going to take off on a run, and it's going to look like he's going to the sideline. Then he'll cut back on the field. Right. But while he's at the sideline, whoever's in pursuit of him, they're letting up because they're scared if they're running all out and he steps out of bounds and they hit him, right, they're going to get flagged. So they kind of feel they have to let up a little bit. And when you're running all out at top speed, you can't just brake. You can't slam on the brakes because that's how you yourself get injured.
Right.
Best way to get injured is to come to a sudden stop. Right. Think of it like you're driving a car on the parkway and you slam on the brake. Maybe you'll be okay, but chances are, you know, it's going to be a violent stop that way. But with that said, it was a scary moment. It was more than a moment until we got word that Tua was doing better. He was immobilized, taken out on a stretcher. There was a lot of worry. There was a lot of concern. But as they say, the show goes on. Right. The game continued. And it was a good win for the Cincinnati Bengals. I guess on paper, they even out their record at 2-2. Miami Dolphins lost for the first time. They went 3-1. The Bengals did not look particularly impressive. And you were commenting to me before the show about their great quarterback, Joe Burrow. You weren't impressed, Mac. Tell us why.
Not at all. I mean, you know, normally good quarterbacks can play against a blitz or a zone, and they can tear you apart either way. Burrow's has been having problems, Jack. And it's concerning because, you know, this is supposed to be their franchise quarterback. And when they play zone on him, he doesn't have an answer for that. He doesn't have an answer for that at all. The wide receivers aren't going to the places you're supposed to go. Like when you're in a zone, you want to get in between, find yourself a little spot and sit. They're not doing that. They're continuing to run. And they're being picked up by the other by the defensive backs. Burrows did not look good at all. I mean, I'll be surprised if Cincinnati wins another game the whole year. I really will be.
Oh, Mac. No, you're getting Mac. There's 13 games left.
I know, Jeff.
And you
I
wouldn't
know
be
that.
surprised if they win 0-13.
But look who they're playing. They're division alone. Baltimore.
I don't care who they're playing.
The Cleveland Browns. I mean, these teams are going to tear them up, Jeff.
Good gosh, the Cleveland Browns, the mighty
Browns will tear them
Browns.
up. That defense is crazy.
Lost to my New York Jets.
Yes, they
struggled had to wait for a 58-yard field goal in the last play of the game to beat Carolina Panthers. I don't think they're shaking.
Hey, Jack, all the players are professional, Jack. Any given Sunday, as they say, they're all professional. They're all very good players. Go ahead.
Let me throw this by you. Do you think Burrow's problem is a weak offensive line where he's constantly gotten hit the last couple of years, constantly gotten pounded? Because I'll tell you, Joe Burrow, when he looks around his offense, he's getting no help from anywhere. His running back, Joe Mixon, hasn't gotten it going. He had like 17 carries for 50 yards his first 17. He just couldn't get it going, Joe Mixon. Jamar Chase, his rookie and his teammate at LSU, he had a great rookie year last year, Jamar Chase. Him and Burrow continued their magic from college. He's had a rough time this year, Jamar Chase. I know he caught a touchdown pass and all, but Jamar Chase has been too slow to get it going. He hasn't looked like an elite receiver this year. He really hasn't. When you talk about the running game, the wide receiver position, and especially the offensive line, Joe Burrow's not getting help from anywhere.
Yeah. And let's talk about Miami for a minute. Even though they lost the game, Bridgewater comes in.
Teddy Bridgewater.
And we think of him as a game manager. Well, yesterday he looked like a game changer. I mean, he was throwing the ball long. He was very confident. He just looked really good, Jack. Now he's no Tua, that's for sure. But this is a guy that came in there with no reps. He didn't practice hardly at all. He didn't take first team reps at all. And he was basically lighting up that defensive backfield.
The history of Teddy Bridgewater tells you can't count on him to be a long-term starter. You absolutely can't.
Right.
And if you think he's going to be your long-term starter, a team is deluding themselves. Look at the history of Teddy Bridgewater. He actually, after he got drafted out of Louisville, at the end of the first round, or maybe the beginning of the second round, I forgot which one, he actually did a good job for the Minnesota Vikings there. He was their starting quarterback. He was effective. We weren't sure whether he was a franchise quarterback for the Vikings, but he did establish himself legitimately as a starter. Then he suffered a really terrible injury. And then the Vikings had a chance to sign Kirk Cousins as a free agent. That's why they moved on from Teddy Bridgewater, kind of like what the Yankees did with their manager, Aaron Boone, who was their third baseman. They had a chance to get A-Rod, so they moved on from Aaron Boone quickly, of course. So that's what the Vikings did with Bridgewater. Then look at all his other stops, and there have been many. He went to the Jets. He was Sam Darnold's backup, okay? He went to the Carolina Panthers. Ironically, once again, he was Sam Darnold's backup there. He went to the New Orleans Saints. He was Drew Brees' backup, which was fine. And when he got in, he was extremely successful. They won something like 7 games with Bridgewater as their quarterback. He was very, very successful, but there was no talk of him replacing Drew Brees, even though he had that nice spell. But then he went to the Denver Broncos. They signed him as a free agent based on what he did at New Orleans. And they made him their starting quarterback. Okay, or at least he competed with Drew Lock. He won the starting position and didn't hold on to it. But there was a point with the Panthers. I'm sorry. He did sign as a free agent with the Panthers too. So he had really, after Minnesota, in which he lost his job because of an injury, not so much performance, and then they signed Kirk Cousins. He was just given the starting position for two teams, for Denver and Carolina, and couldn't hold on to it. So that should tell you all you need to know. I mean, he's like another Ryan Fitzpatrick type.
Right.
You don't
Right.
make him your starting quarterback, but he can come in, maybe hold the position for part of the year, for the rest of the year. He's a great backup to have. But yesterday, Mac, he came in, like you said, he looked good, but he didn't hold up over the game. He didn't look like anything special. He didn't rally Miami when they needed rallying.
No, he didn't do that. He's still a second string quarterback, Jack. That's all he is.
Yeah, but you would say like an effective one. Miami, I mean, what's your read on Miami? Are they in for the long haul? Are they a flash in the pan? They beat the Buffalo Bills last week.
Right.
And it was a short week for them in the Jets. But I think Miami was at more of a disadvantage than Cincinnati for two reasons. Cincinnati had the game at home. Right. So when you have a short week, I think it's an advantage to be at home. It's always an advantage to be at home, especially a short week. The Bengals were coming off a relatively comfortable win over the New York Jets, a win they needed to have because they were 0-2. But nevertheless, it wasn't a fight to the finish with the Jets. They were in control of the game. The Dolphins, meanwhile, were in a very emotional game against the Buffalo Bills where they had to make a statement against the powerful Bills, and they did. They came up with a big upset, and you got the feeling once it beat the Buffalo Bills, it's hard to crank it up again so soon. So I think that the big advantage was there going into the game for the Bengals. And, and they won it. They're 2-2. Dolphins are 3-1. And I get the feeling, I think it's something that you said, and maybe one of our other guests said, it's kind of in a way still the preseason, or the preseason is coming to an end because they really don't play the amount of preseason games they did in the past, or even if they did, the regulars hardly play, it seems. So now it's like they're working themselves into game shape, not so much physically, but mentally getting into the grind and all. So now as we get on to the season, it more like separates the men from the boys, They really are getting their footing. Certain players like a Russell Wilson, who's off to a very slow start with Denver, he's going to play more games. We'll see whether he gets it together or not. Well, Mac, football ended last night. We resume with baseball today. There's the big story, of course, is going to be Aaron Judge going for 62. And there's a mini controversy going around, The record books are clear. Barry Bonds holds the home run record at 73. That's the legal record, no ifs or buts about it. But there's also the buzz with Aaron Judge. To some people, well, that's the real home run record. And whenever Aaron Judge comes up, he comes to the plate, Mac, they come in at the other games across the country they tune into the Yankee game because you hear Michael Kay saying, I want to welcome everyone who's coming in. This is this, just for the Judge at bat.
Sure. Okay.
Now, they can justify it in this sense. He is undisputedly going for the American League home run record, which is newsworthy in itself. And Judge himself said, no, he's not going for the home run record. It's Barry Bonds is the record holder. And there's something behind the lines here that gets me to think more and more and more. Judge grew up a San Francisco Giant fan as a kid. He loved the Giants. Compare that to a kid who grew up to be a Yankee fan. Right. In a way, it's your dream to always play for the team you rooted for as a kid. You came up with. So Judge said he stayed up nights when he was a kid to watch Barry Bonds try to break the record. So Barry Bonds is actually one of Judge's idols.
Yeah.
One of his idols. I mean, outside of San Francisco, some people look at Bonds with contempt. But in San Francisco, he's actually loved. He's not looked at, with contempt. And
Right.
Judge is a San Franciscan, which kind of makes me think, I mean, when he becomes a free agent, let's say the offers are even, the Yankees and the Giants. What's Judge going to do? Now, you could tell he loves being a Yankee, too. Okay? He enjoys it. He likes his teammates. He likes the stadium. He likes the fans. He likes the legacy. But San Francisco's home, too. And sometimes the lure of going home is so great if all factors are equal. Case in point, doesn't Andy Pettitte love being a Yankee? Didn't he love being a Yankee throughout his career? But Mac, there was a 3-year span where the Yankees were too slow to give Pettitte an offer. They didn't sign him to an extension. He became a free agent. And by the time they offered him the money he would have accepted, he had his eye on Houston, his hometown. And they decided to go home, and they went home he went there for 3 years before then coming back to New York.
Right.
You kind of wonder how this is going to play out with Judge. It's kind of a mystery. If the Yankees step up and the money is equal between New York and San Francisco, what's he going to do at that point?
Well, Jack, you got to look at the Yankee history, right? And playing in New York. I think Judge would still stay with the Yankees if the offers are equal. I mean, and let's not forget about the LA Dodgers, too. They'll spend anybody to get Judge to come there, and they're only a stone throw away from San Francisco. So that's a possibility. It probably won't happen, but it's a possibility.
Like you could say the Mets a possibility.
Oh,
too,
definitely.
Matt.
Oh, definitely they are. They're right there. But I still think that the lure of the Yankees, the history of the Yankees, going into Hall of Fame as a Yankee, I think that's going to be pretty strong in his decision. So that's what I think. That's what I'm leaning to, Jack. I think he'll stay with the Yankees.
That's, you're basing it on tradition in large part. Well, you're with the Yankees. You don't want to leave, this and that. But we were kind of down this road a little bit with Robinson Cano, weren't we? And I remember Brian Cashman saying, well, if he stays, ultimately he's going to have a plaque in Monument Park. He's going to be considered one of the great Yankees going down in history if he stays here. But Robinson Cano didn't stay because the Yankees offered him 7 years, and the Yankees did the right thing, $25 million a year. Seattle offered him 10 years, $1 million a year less, $24 million a year, $240 million to $175 million. In other words, an extra $65 million for 3 years guaranteed, and that's significant.
Sure.
If the money is significantly more for Judge to go to the Giants, the Mets, the Dodgers, even the team like the Chicago Cubs, he's going to go there. I mean, sometimes they're X factors involved. What happens if the Chicago Cubs step up and offer him $50 million a year? I mean, they really go way overboard. It's hard to turn down. If it's a question of $340 million to $320 million, I could see Judge taking the less amount of money, okay, based on that. But it's unpredictable. Now, for those who say, okay, when we had Dr. Semendinger on one of our debate shows, he said, we don't know what's on Judge's mind, where he wants to go, where he doesn't want to. Well, I agree with Doc on that. The point is, Judge entertained an offer from the Yankees before the season. He didn't tell the Yankees that he was going to be a free agent. Okay? We're going to get back to this Judge thing in a while because this is going to be big, big news going forward. But right now, we've got former Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver Byron Williams. Well, how do I introduce you, Byron? You played all over. Where do I introduce you from?
I did sign 5 NFL contracts in my career, but
Yeah, okay.
My stats and my love is with the Giants.
There you go.
Right, okay, so former New York Giant receiver, regular on this show, big rep with the Players Union, Byron Williams. Byron, last night's game, scary moment with Tua, carted off the field. You've lived through things like this when you were a player. How much do the players fear something like that happening to them, especially when they see it?
Yeah, it's a big concern. It's a big concern. I mean, even the NFLPA made a comment right during the process of them taking them out the field. You know, they sent us some messages, and I don't know if they had the right protocol for him, because last week he experienced the same thing. You know, his head hit the turf going backwards. So it's 2 weeks in a row. It's some major concerns. I mean, his body reacted, and his hands, was affected by the hit, and so it's a concern. We do have protocols in there, and it seemed like, I don't know what doctor or who saw him. They didn't follow the protocol, because if you consistently get hit like that, it can cause major damage. I mean, 2 weeks in a row is a major concern for all players. It's about player safety than anything else.
Byron, let me ask this: the Players Association. Okay, I've been heavily involved, obviously, in the sport of boxing, and I was at a medical convention with a group, the American Association of Professional Ringside Physicians, and I was on their board of directors. And I remember at one of the conferences speaking with the doctor saying, wait a second, a fighter gets knocked out, it's an automatic 90-day suspension. He can't box again. And sometimes they raise it to 180 days. But at that time, years ago, in the NFL, a guy suffers a concussion, he's back the next week. And I asked, what's the reason why? And I was told, too much money with the NFL. You can't sit someone out the year. But ideally, a guy suffers a concussion. Ideally, he shouldn't be playing again for like 3 months or so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for sure, it's supposed to be a 2 weeks protocol, for sure. And they got to get released from the doctors. I mean, they studied monitoring your brain and your reaction and stuff. But it's been at least 14 days to 21 days. Typically, they was following it the last couple of years. They've been following it, because that's why they went to the Guardian helmets in training camp for all the linemen and the tight ends, linebackers this past training camp. And they got good results of hardly any injuries for his concussions. And so they're going to probably really be looking at this. I know for a fact that it's one of their concerns. It's one of the major things. They see that former players my age and younger and that played in the NFL have really been affected with the brain injury. So definitely it's going to be something that they're going to have to look at. But I'm thinking they should have anywhere between 14 to 21 day protocols in place. And I think Tua came back absolutely too fast.
Hey, Jack, can I take a quick sec here?
Sure.
What happened to the neck rolls, right? They had the big neck bars that used to go across the player's back, and that absorbs a lot of the hit. When you're hitting somebody head on, you're getting thrown on your back. I mean, why don't they bring those back too, Byron?
They might need to look at that, because it also helps the vertebrae. Because when the neck and the head go forward and backward, it helps absorb some of that compact, right? So definitely that might be something that need to be addressed and looked at, because I know they was talking last night about the Guardian helmets and things like that, and you do have to bring in some safety prototypes to come in and make sure that these players are being protected, because the game been so violent, and they definitely need to look at that. I mean, they trying to get the referees to help with some of that, but sometimes when your momentum is going and you got instant contact, you can't stop some of those hits. So,
right.
you definitely need to look at that too. So that's a good point. That's a good point.
They should give the referee some kind of protection too. They're in the middle of everything getting hit too.
Absolutely. I've seen a couple of referees get hit, and even the guys that are holding the TV microphones and things on the sideline, the chain games people. Definitely, they need to look into all of that. And they did say last night there are certain people looking at every game to make sure the safety is there, as well as players being having the dress code down. They talk about all of that, and I think they're going to have to police that a little bit more.
The last night's game, let's get right to it. Bengals needed the game a little more than the Dolphins. The Dolphins were 3-0. Okay, they lost the game. They're going to lose some games this season. That was the type of game. I won't call it quite a trap game, but coming off the emotional win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, short week going to Cincinnati, they were ripe to be beaten, even though they were in with a good chance to win. The Bengals didn't look particularly good. Mac and myself were talking about Joe Burrow before. Mac was very unimpressed with Joe Burrow, how he struggled. But I said, Joe Mixon hasn't gotten going. What's happened to Jamar Chase? He's not the same dynamic rookie he was last year, not so far this year. And the Cincinnati offensive line has been dreadful to the point. Is Joe Burrow getting a bit gun shy? You think?
I think he's still not being 100%. I still think he's got some aches and pains and some of the timing, because he didn't play that much in the offseason. Of course, he was nicked up beginning of the season, and I think too they rolling the coverage over to Jamar Chase's side, so they doing more doubling. So it seemed like they still don't have the timing right. That's why I think 3 good preseason games and having some players to play a little bit, going into the season, it takes 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks before everything get the flowing right. But seem like to me they still the offense is not gelling. Seem like they don't have the same plays that they were calling at the end of the year and so it seems like some of the play selection is bad. I think too they had the tight end in the game plan more than they do right now. Seems like he's last night, this first game that they really threw to the tight ends, which opened up some more avenues for Joe. But yeah, and then too, you just got that one back there. The running style now is not like it used to be when you have a fullback lead the blocking. So they have a different concept on the opposite side.
That's what I can't understand, the formations. I mean, why can't we go back, at least at times, to being what it was with a halfback, a fullback, the quarterback sometimes taking the snap directly from under center, because this way you don't know whether he's going to pass, whether he's going to throw. It's like everything's in the shotgun, which is fine when you're going to pass for sure. When you're going to pass for sure, you may as well get in the shotgun. But it affects the running game a bit,
Absolutely, absolutely. And old style of football, you want to average 4 to 6 yards on first down. You get that, and then you be second and 4 less. I mean, that puts the offense in a good position, and the defense, the defense have to honor that. So, that was the whole concept of us, how we did it back in the day. Well, you get 3 to 5, maybe 4 to 6 yards, 4 to 7 yards on first down. Then now the defense can't be more predictable. But now the defense playing more aggressive. And sometimes you do see defense playing better than offense at the beginning of the season. And as the season goes, the tendency to get better for both sides.
Byron, me and Jack were talking, right? I mean, a great quarterbacks, blitz them, they're going to beat you. Go in zone, they're going to cut you up. It seems that all you got to do now against the Bengals is play a zone defense. The receivers, for some reason, don't sit in the open area. They continue to run, and they're picked up by the defensive backs when they do that. So, I mean, what's the answer there? I mean, do you maybe do you sit Burrows for a couple games and maybe let him study what's going on out there against them, or do you keep him playing? And as far as Dixon goes, he has no speed at all. He can't hit that hole He's just a big guy that gets
Makes
stopped after 4 or 5 yards. So again, I don't know what the answer is for the Bengals. I was telling Jack maybe they lose every game. Now that's far fetched, but they got a lot of problems, Byron.
Mac, let me just cut. That is ludicrous to sit Joe Burrow. That is utterly ridiculous. Unless he's physically injured. If he's physically injured, he's nursing an injury, and he's very questionable. He's your franchise quarterback. I can understand a game or two only under that circumstance if it's a severe physical ailment. But to sit him because you want him to learn more, that is ludicrous at this point, Mac.
But then,
well, I just think too that the timing is off, and I think the beginning of the season, the defense do have the advantage of offense. But I think these 3 receiver sets sometimes have seem like last year they were more like a full wide receiver / tight end / running back style of offense. I think now they got a 3 receiver set and a tight end and that 1 back set. I don't know if Mixon is ready to he's running. He seems like he's not running with the same passion that he had in the past, but definitely. But I think too, their offense been kind of vanilla, and they're not doing a whole lot of multiple things that they did last year. I mean, even the vertical routes downfield, they're not taking as many long throws that they did. I know last year they were leading the league in 50-plus yards, one of the top 3 teams in the league for 50-plus big plays, and they're not doing it this far. So far, they haven't done it.
But they're 2-2, so they're not in a good spot if they can get it together. Tyreek Hill, the great Miami Dolphin wide receiver, maybe the quickest, wide out in the league, perhaps.
Right.
Okay, he was complaining after the game that he felt disrespected by one of the Bengal coaches, questioned his manhood, and he wants to meet him for a talk mano a mano. What could a coach possibly have been saying to Tyreek Hill, to questioning his manhood, to annoy him? Well, maybe the coach, I don't doubt that the coach said something to him. I know Tyreek Hill wouldn't make it up, but the idea is to throw Tyreek Hill off his game unless you got too personal. Okay?
Absolutely.
Crossed a certain line and got too personal about, the guy's family or something you shouldn't have said. What's Tyreek Hill going to beef about?
And that's one of the things about football. You're going to hear so many guys talking so much trash on that football field. And regardless of who said what, I mean, you still got to play the game. And evidently, I thought Tyreek would be more mature than listening to what somebody else said, especially a coach. I mean, you don't be concerned with that. That they did do that to really throw your game off. So I thought he would be more mature than to listen to trash talk. But that's part of football. I mean, people say some of everything out there on that football field, and sometimes you just like let it go in one ear and out the other one, and then you don't be concerned about it because at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill is making some big plays, but you can see that it was a different type of game for him after Bridgewater came in, and Bridgewater, I don't think he's still a lot of vertical balls downfield, and Tyreek Hill loved to do that, and so I just think too that it was a different situation when Tua got hurt for the quarterback looking for Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill is the number 1 target. I think that kind of hurt him. So it was a lot of momentum changes in the game, I think, and and I think that kind of took Miami out of the game plan because evidently Teddy Bridgewater wasn't quite having the same game plan that Tua had. It seemed like the game plan just came more simplified than the way they was playing early on in the game.
Now,
sure, let's not say Teddy Bridgewater didn't play good. He played really good. I mean, he hardly got any snaps during practice. He was out there. He knew the offense, even though it was scaled down a little bit. He looked really good to me, Byron.
Yeah, no doubt. He been experienced enough to this is his 7th, 8th, 9th year. And he know the game good enough. I think he'll throw 71 touchdowns and 48 interceptions and 15,000 yards. So he have played the game good enough to know. I mean, he can come in and save a game and win a game, but last night seemed like to me they didn't run their full set of plays like they did when Tua was in there. They didn't run vertical routes. Seemed like he wasn't quite connecting with he was looking for his running back and his tight end more than the wide receiver. I think you got to consistently stay within the concept of your game plan.
Guys, you really think both you Teddy Bridgewater played really well? He was so.
I didn't think he played well. I think he played
Mac
okay.
said he played really well. Mac is throwing Bridgewater a bouquet of flowers. Just say, great job, Teddy.
I think he played really well under that situation is what I'm saying, right?
He has to be ready. That's his job, to be ready to go in all the
his job to be ready and win the game too, though.
Sure.
Right. You got to be ready. That's his only job. They weren't going to put him in. They were going to only put him in on two circumstances. If Tua was absolutely horrendous and floundering, which was unlikely, but then he'd have time to get ready because you hear the boos and you have an idea. They tell you, the coaches, start getting ready, or you have to come in without warning because of an injury. So that's your job. You have to have your head into the game. It's a very difficult job, very, very difficult. But Bridgewater, he is what you get.
But this is what I can say, Jack. A couple of times he threw the ball not past first down. He threw the ball underneath, expecting the receiver to get this first down for him. And I think he was playing cautious, and that changed the concept. So I think too that he was scared to get hit, and so he released the ball early, or he had dumped the ball off to the running back. And where you need to get those wide receivers, the same concept that Tua had going in the game plan earlier. And I think that's what threw him off. I mean, he seemed like to me he was just trying to do enough just to stay close to the game, but he's not doing enough to try to win a game.
Well, I did, Jack. I did send him flowers. I put your name on there too, just for your knowledge. Right?
Well, he was a former New York Jet.
Sure.
A backup with the Jets, but listen, Bridgewater, just don't forget. He was the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. It didn't work out. The Carolina Panthers signed him as a free agent to be the starter. It didn't work out. He's arguably the best backup in the league. How's that?
Sure.
You can maybe make that argument and then put him in the discussion for that. And he could play. Speaking of backups, what's your take on a few whispers, guys, about Cooper Rush? Because the Cowboys won a couple of games with him as quarterback. There are a few whispers. Well, maybe if the Cowboys keep winning, he should play ahead of Dak Prescott. Now, on the surface, we might say that's ridiculous. But remember one thing. It's very important, okay? Dak Prescott became the starter because he took over for Tony Romo. And they said the same thing in the beginning when Dak Prescott was winning. Oh, come on, get off it. As soon as Romo's back, he's, of course, the starter. But what happens if Cooper Rush can keep it going and Zach is delayed a few weeks? I can't see it happening to me. It seems far-fetched because of the money Zach is getting paid.
Yeah, and I think, too, the prediction of him coming back within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I think that's not really true. I think I saw him throw a ball yesterday, and it was wobbling and stuff. So he's really not ready. Regardless of what they say, he's not ready to come back and play. And I just think Cooper Rush right now is doing a good job. I mean, just give him credit. I mean, right now he's winning over the fans, and the people are excited about him being one of the only 3 quarterbacks in Cowboy history to win his first 3 games as a starter. They excited out here about it, but at the end of the day, you got to pay the guy who contract calls for you to be the starter of the team. And I just think they said that he's gonna be playing against Washington. Cooper Rush gonna be playing against Washington. So Washington right now needs to get back on playing that hard defense they're known for. So I just think it should be a good game.
You both have lost your minds. I mean, I think you've been drinking this morning. Dak Prescott is twice the athlete he is. He can run with the ball. I don't think Cooper Rush can run a 10-second 40. Dak Prescott is the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback. There is no quarterback controversy. As soon as he's ready to go, he'll be back behind center again, and Cooper Rush will be back on the bench again. It's that simple, guys.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, they put him with Roger Staubach and it might have been, I don't know,
Clint
Troy
Longley.
to win their first 3 games as a Dallas Cowboy. I think it was Roger and somebody else, but they had already mentioned his name with some of the best quarterbacks in the history of Cowboys. But
No,
I
mean, it's a
agree
Cooper.
with you, man. I agree. It's Dak is the man, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Rush, I mean, let's put it in perspective. It's good the Cowboys won the game, but they beat the Giants basically because of a great defensive effort. And we're talking quarterbacks, Daniel Jones. I'm not sure what to make out of Daniel Jones because when you're constantly harassed and have no blocking and constantly under pressure, it throws you off, and his receivers are injured. So once again, Daniel Jones doesn't have a lot to work with. But the Giants have to make a decision this year. Either he's their quarterback of the future or not. And I'm going to be honest about it, guys. I wouldn't invest in Daniel Jones long-term right now. There is absolutely no way. He's got to show me he's the guy of the future. He hasn't shown me he's not. But this is his 4th year. He's got to finally show it this year. I don't care what the circumstances are. Not having blocking, not having receivers. He's gotta step up a little more despite the duress he's under.
Well, I just think too that they hadn't got him a top receiver on the outside. I mean, not consistently, but right now going into his 4th year, good point. I think he's playing well. I mean, he was hit 25 plus times last week. I mean, I don't care who you are. A quarterback getting hit that many times, but for what he's done this year, it's telling me that he's finally getting the hang of everything, the system. He might be in the best system he ever been in. Every year he had new coaches. So I think right now I like the way he's playing. I think he's doing everything that they asked him to do. I think he's a mature-minded type guy. You remember last year we were talking about his pocket presence and how he can move and slide, and I think he's gonna get better at that as well. So I think it's all about the new coaches that came in. Maybe it could be a new everything for him. I'm excited for him. I think he playing terrific right now. His quarterback rate is better. I think he still needs to get more yardage with the wide receivers, and maybe they still have a young tight end out there, but I think, I like everything he's doing. He's playing the game to win games now versus just doing enough to be a quarterback.
Yeah, and of course, having Saquon Barkley there doesn't hurt either, right? I mean, he can turn around and hand the ball off to him anytime. He can catch the ball.
Saquon, like he's a new young guy. I mean, I'm excited, and I think both those guys have really picked up the ball, and they're exciting. They're exciting to watch. I really enjoy watching them now.
And I think
is electrifying. You have to sign him back to a long-term deal. He's electrifying. He's a weapon. Daniel Jones, it would be a mistake to invest long-term in him unless he shows you something going forward. If the blocking's not good, the receivers are out, I'm not taking a chance on Daniel Jones.
But I don't care who you have back there, though, Jack.
Joe Burrow, wait a second. Didn't Joe Burrow take the Bengals to a Super Bowl without blocking, with dreadful blocking?
Well,
he's a quarterback.
He's younger. He's a couple of years younger. But I'm saying you don't want your quarterback getting hit close to 30 times a game. I don't care who in no league. 30 times, 25 to 30 times. That's a lot of hits.
I think Daniel Jones will be okay. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback or not, but I think he'll be okay. And they do have some really outstanding college quarterbacks coming out this year. So if he doesn't do well, maybe he gets moved back to second and they bring a college kid up.
Well, you don't know where the Giants are going to draft because right now they're 2-1. If the season falls apart, they could be in a good position to draft, but chances are they're not going to quite be in a position for one of those elite quarterbacks. But
then Jack, they just got to move up. They got to do whatever they got to do to move up to the top of the draft.
Yeah, they might end up winning 11 games this year, Jack.
Well, listen, it didn't work. The Niners moved up to get Trey Lance. You feel for Trey Lance, and you wonder the 49er predicament. He's out for the season with an injury. Jimmy G's there. The point is, let's say it doesn't work out with Jimmy G the rest of the year. They start next season with Trey Lance, and he's lost all this time. And if the Niners do make a serious Super Bowl run with Jimmy G, what do you do now as far as Trey Lance goes? It's the last time heard him, and how good is Trey Lance? I know, Mac, you questioned how good he was. We got to find out.
Jack, Trey Lance stinks. He stinks. He can't throw the ball downfield. He can't really run with the ball. He's all right. He can't throw the short pass. He throws it in the ground all the time. He just plain out stinks.
But I
want to say this. I think they thought he was going to be a Patrick Mahomes, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
No, but he was put in a bad spot. And when I mean a bad spot, a rookie like him, before he got hurt, needed to go to a team that wasn't that good, like a Justin Fields. If Justin Fields was taken by the 49ers, it wouldn't have been as good for him as it was being on the Chicago Bears. With the Bears, no one's expecting anything. He could learn, he could develop. But when you go to a team that's got to win now, that's a Super Bowl contender, and you're a rookie, you're under extra pressure. That's what Mac Jones did last year, was really good with New England.
Yeah. And I had predicted Justin Fields better than Trey Lance. I mean, I don't know how they had him rated over Justin Fields, and that's my opinion from the get-go. I thought he should have been a better selection because of the preparation, the body type, and the style of offense he came from. Look at Carson Wentz. I mean, people from that school. I'm not trying to put that school down, but people from that school just hadn't been productive in the National Football League.
And Byron, he throws the ball a hell of a lot better than Trey Lance. He's got a good arm. He's pretty accurate. I mean, he can run with the ball too, but he's got a lot better accurate arm than Trey Lance has.
Yeah, and I just think they were comparing him to Patrick Mahomes coming out, and I think that the 49ers fell for the okie doke, and they see that this guy is just an average quarterback.
Well, part of it is the program you played for in college. Justin Fields is from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Stands are always packed. The Buckeyes are very relevant all the time. So he was performing on a big stage throughout his college career. Speaking of a quarterback was performing on a bit of a lesser stage at Utah, my guy, Jet quarterback Zach Wilson. I don't know what to make out of Zach Wilson. It's his second year. Unfortunately, he missed the first, few games, but he's going to be in against the Steelers. I can't expect a great deal against a Mike Tomlin coached defensive unit, okay? But at some point, we're going to have to see what Zach Wilson can do. This isn't the combines, guys. I get the feeling guys get drafted unexpectedly high because they see him at the combines, and they can throw across their body with an extra zip on the ball, and you fall in love with the guy's physical potential. That's what I get the feeling. I just have no clue how good Zach Wilson's going to be. No clue at all based on what I saw last year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think, too, sometimes going to the combine can be overrated. Sometimes I think the scouting department can miss out on certain case scenario of how these quarterbacks can transition to the NFL. And I think, too, is the speed of the game is one of the factors that I consider, but also the player's confidence, how he can handle pressure. Playing in New York, you got to be able to handle pressure like no other because of the media. There's a whole lot of things going to the effect, but he definitely have all the characteristics that one of the top players that, as far as his rating was concerned. But when the injuries happen and how you recover, and then the blocking presence of your offense and the style of offense they put you in, all that should be a consideration. But Zach Wilson definitely had all the assets for the quarterback need to play in the National Football League. But when you get injured and how you come back and how you have to play with injuries and nicks and cuts and bumps, you have to be able to play and be able to make that transition. And another thing, they might have saw some things in him in practice But practice is one thing, but playing in the National Football League in the games is another thing.
And Zach Wilson does not. He's one of those guys that should have waited a few years before he played. He should have gotten a film room more. Flacco, though he's not what he was on the field, still knows quarterback and still knows how to read defenses. And Zeke doesn't have a clue on how to read defenses. He gets up to the line, he looks lost with the coverages. So Zach Wilson needs to take a few years off, study film, carry the clipboard.
A few years off. Where's
Oh,
he gonna
yes.
go? Take a few years off. Is he going to go to the?
But let me tell you something, though, Jack. That's what happened to Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. All these guys didn't come in. They throwing these guys to the wolves. I think you're exactly right, Matt. When they throw these guys to the wolves, you either got to get in there and play and make a instant impact. And these players haven't done that. That's what Mac is. That's what I see as well.
I understand what Mac is saying, but Mac, you learn by playing.
Well, you got practice too. You got practice too, Jack. And some of these coaches are really rolling the dice on these players.
It depends who's ahead of you. To have a transition year, sometimes you can learn by carrying the clipboard for a year. Patrick Mahomes did it for 1 year at Kansas City, but the Chiefs had Alex Smith, a fairly decent NFL quarterback, an experienced guy, a playoff caliber team. So he took it all in for 1 year. Aaron Rodgers was wasted beyond the year to be 3 years on the bench, but he had to be because Brett Favre was there. He didn't learn anything additionally for 3 years as opposed to 1 year that he could have learned carrying.
I think he did.
I think he did. I think he learned a lot. I think he was on the bench 3 years, I think, but I think he learned a lot.
Yeah. I mean, reading defenses, the speed of the game, all that stuff comes to play when you step on that field, Jack. You know, he's
when you step on the field,
and Brett Favre was a bigger, stouter man than Rodgers too. He can take those shots where you see Aaron Rodgers, he gets injured. He gets injured quite a bit, Jack. Even if it's getting nicked up, he gets injured.
No, not Aaron Rodgers. He's always playing. He's always on the field.
Yeah, he's always playing. He's always playing, but he's always seems to get nicked up, Jack.
But the one thing I like about Aaron Rodgers, he's fully prepared. He get rid of that ball in time. He don't take unnecessary hits. You don't see him running all the time like some of these other quarterbacks do. And you just think about Daniel Jones. I mean, he got hurt running. I mean, he always running, taking hits. You got to know when to fall and how to fall. So I think Aaron Rodgers is a good student of the game for sure.
Yeah, but you have to consider who the quarterback is ahead of you. Right now, the Jets, they're 1-2. Joe Flacco would be starting. And let's not waste our time with Joe Flacco. He's not the quarterback of the future. At best, you could say he's a competent backup at this point. At best, okay? He didn't show anything special the 3 games he was in. He had his moments where he looked good. He had his moments where he didn't look good.
I agree.
So what are you going to lose with Zach Wilson? They got him 2 stud receivers for the future. Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. These guys eventually are going to be one of the best 1-2 tandems in the NFL. They're not quite there yet because they're young. It's only a question of playing time. Garrett Wilson is electrifying. Elijah Moore's outstanding. The question is, if you can block for Garrett Wilson, these guys are going to get open.
And so, not to cut you off, Jack, but I think now if Zach Wilson can come in and bring a little bit more manageable and more get the ball to those receivers you just named, I think that the Jets gonna be hard to beat. They're already hard to beat. So they was hard to beat last year. So I think you're absolutely right, Jack. We're not saying that, but I think in a quarterback situation, some of these guys are being thrown to the wolves and they're not quite ready yet. That's all we're saying. But
and you know,
Zach, I think the jury's still out on Zach though, Zach Wilson.
And you know, it's not physical. He's got a great arm. It's just mentally. He can't read defenses yet. Once he does that, Jack, you're going to have a great quarterback there.
I agree.
Well, jet blocking's been poor. One thing about the NFL that has really gone down in the last 6-7 years from the back in the day, which is terrible, the offensive lines. They are terrible. I mean, virtually every team. I mean, I don't have to see a team play, and I could just guess, oh, they have a terrible offensive line, because 90% of the teams do.
I can tell you one of the things that I see just hurt just a little bit. I think it's the gap. I mean, maybe they're a little bit too close, and maybe they need to come out just a little bit. And I think too that they're not moving their feet. The linemen, they need to do some more they need to do more feet work, and they're not. They just stand back and they know they're getting bull rush, and they got the hold, and they get more penalties. I mean, look at the penalty that the offensive line get. So I think you're absolutely right. It's just a lot of little things that they need to tweak that they're not doing.
And the defenses, that's what they're ready for now, is the passes, right? They're not concerned about the run anymore. All they're worried about is getting pressure on the quarterback, knocking them around, staying with the safeties best they can. And I mean, the wide receivers as best as they can. It's got it. You look at Tennessee, you look at San Francisco, they've gone back to the run again as their game plan. They're pounding the ball against these lighter, smaller guys that are playing on the line for the quickness. So I think you're going to see football go complete circle, as me and Jim have talked about, and go back to running the ball more.
Right. Well, back in the day with my Jets with Joe Willie Namath, okay? He would take the snap from under center, fade back, had a great offensive line, Dave Herman, Winston Hill. But his halfback, Emerson Boozer, fullback, Matt Snell, when he was passing, they'd stay back there. They'd be tenacious blockers. Yeah. They would pick up anyone who would, get free. And they gave Namath, who was so injury prone, I mean, with the bad knees, but they kept him going game after game after game. And you don't see a halfback, a fullback pick up someone, a defensive end who breaks free and is coming to the quarterback.
Right.
They don't hardly work on that no more, Jack.
No, but why? I don't understand. I didn't play the game on that level. So I don't understand. You did. I don't understand why they don't go back to that at least some of the time.
That's what they need to. They don't run enough draws. They don't run enough screens. They don't even run enough screens. So draws and screens, they don't take that out of the playbook.
And Byron, you
used to be great 3rd and 8. Quarterback would take the snap on the center, go back to pass. They would be pass rushing them. The draw play would be a great play, I haven't seen a draw play all season.
And Byron, you were really the wide receiver because you were a big guy. You were the one that did most of the blocking for the Giants out there and running plays and passing plays. So, I mean, again, do the wide receivers block anymore? I don't think they do, Byron.
Byron wasn't catching the ball then.
So now I caught the ball some, but I'm telling you, I had to look at the block because I was the strongest receiver. But for sure, though, we used to have a blocking period for wide receiver that we had to go and learn how to block. So exactly right. That you don't see it no more. You really don't.
I will say this. You have to give credit so I don't like Keyshawn Johnson, okay? Because he was a real eye guy with the Jets, a selfish guy. Instead of having a really good relationship with Wayne Corbett, Johnson could have been 1 and the Corbett could have been 1A. He demeaned his fellow wide receiver every chance he got. Really bad guy, Keyshawn Johnson. But of course, that gets him a high-profile position on ESPN. Because that's how they work, the media today. Be a disruption, get the job. But on the field, he blocked tenaciously. I want to give him his due. He bought in, he really blocked. And as a fan, I appreciated that effort that he put forth on the field with his blocking. Hey, Keith Engel just joined us, TGI Sports. I don't know, Byron, whether you have to go or whether
I got a golf tournament. I got to go play some golf.
Wait a minute. I want to go play golf. I got to stay with Mac and Jack. You're going to go play golf?
I know.
That's a difference. Byron is on the links, but I don't know, can he play golf? He's playing golf, put it that way.
I'm playing golf.
Don't tell Mac you're playing golf. He'll ban you from the show forever.
Byron, great seeing you. Great talking to you. Great job on the show, bringing aboard the other part of the show you're bringing with the other network that's coming on with you too, right?
Yeah, we're working on another network with the NFL alumni, Jim and I. JMB Talking Shop, it's still gonna be the same thing that we've been doing. And it's good to see you, Keith.
Good to see you, Byron. We don't get to cross paths much, but it's good to see you.
All right,
know.
Byron.
You guys have a great day.
Go with the hole in one, man.
Good game. Keith, I just want to, Mac, I just want to start off with Keith.
Oh, gosh.
To
I
say
know
that
where we're going.
Keith's worst nightmare has come true. His worst possible nightmare in sports with the Patriots. Brian Hoyer is going to be starting maybe the next few games or whatever. What is the timeline here with Brian Hoyer? Because I heard some analysts say, well, they could still win with Hoyer. We take it, Keith.
The timeline for what? How long he's going to play? Hopefully a half. But listen, I heard he's been really throwing some nice tight spirals with the clipboard this week. So that he's working out with the clipboard. They forgot to give him a football because he hasn't had one in his hand in so long. This is not going to be pretty this weekend in Green Bay. I'm still looking. I told Robert Butler I was on with him Wednesday night for a bit, and me. I can find a way to be optimistic about my team. I can find things. I'm still working on it. I'll try by Sunday morning to come up with a reason this team can win. I haven't found it yet. But Brian Hoyer is not the answer here. And if you listen to Bill Belichick, Mac Jones is only day to day. Maybe we'll see him on Sunday. Who knows? I don't know if you guys saw that clip the other day where he said he must have said Mac Jones is day to day 15 times when they asked him what was he's going to miss 4 weeks at least. High ankle sprains you don't get over in a couple of days.
Keith, are you concerned about Mac Jones' performance? I mean, he really isn't playing very well. I mean, the defense is playing well. Your special teams are playing well. They're keeping you in the games. Your running game is still good. But Mac Jones seems a little lost out there this year.
I am concerned, but I'm not willing to put it all on his shoulders. He's a second-year quarterback who they've blew up the entire system, put a new system in place. Two guys who are still getting accustomed to being on the offensive side of the football, running that offense. And I think that's where Mac Jones has made more bad decisions in 3 games than he made maybe all last year. Even last week, the offense was much better in the first half, first 3 quarters even. They moved the ball really well. But then he made some mistakes. He threw a key interception in the end zone when they had a chance to cut the lead. It should have been an easy fade pass. He just made a bad decision. Then he made another bad decision when they were driving the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So look at the offense has gotten better. Patricia's gotten better calling the plays, but Mac Jones doesn't look exactly comfortable in this system yet. And you're right. They run the ball really well.
Yeah.
The defense has played well. Last week, they couldn't contain Lamar Jackson, but that can be, a lot of teams have that problem. But again, they played well enough to win this game. And the Ravens are over and late in the third quarter.
Keith, do the Patriots really look over the young quarterbacks coming out of college next year? I mean, do they take a real hard look at them? Maybe Mac Jones moves to second string and they bring on one of those young quarterbacks?
I think it depends on what we see in the second half out of Mac Jones, and I don't think it's necessarily about wins and losses. I'd love to see this team. It's going to be very hard for them to meet my projection for them now if Hoyer's going to play 4 or 5 games here, but they need to get Mac back to the second half because they need to evaluate whether they need to do just that. Is he the guy, or have they got to look again?
Why isn't he the guy? Mac Jones is now an established NFL quarterback. We're treating him like he's a rookie with a question mark, that he's a second-year quarterback with a question mark. He took the Patriots to the playoffs last year. He played well, was one of the better rookies last year.
I'm not saying they're going to necessarily do that. I said they need to evaluate him, and there is zero question. You cannot question he's regressed pretty badly these first 3 games. I gave him a pass because of the new system, and he seems not to be confident like he was last year in the system that was being run. I'm not writing Mac Jones off. Don't get me wrong.
Mac Jones, 2 guys, okay, who were head coaches, came back, who were disasters with their team. Patrizia with the Lions, Joe Judge with the Giants, And now those are the guys who are coming with the losing cultures as head coaches to the Patriots, and they're imparting all this losing knowledge on Mac Jones, basically. And I'm not saying Patricia Judge couldn't be competent assistants per se, or would be, under what Belichick wants. But why not just Mac Jones, a brilliant mind, a smart kid coming from a major program in Alabama? I'll be honest about it. I would give him a major say on how the offense would be run. What do you feel comfortable with, Mac? Do you want to call your own plays? Do you want to help? By all accounts, he's a brilliant mind. This is a quarterback who was teaching Cam Newton the playbook last year.
I could have done that.
Cam Newton the playbook.
Listen, he can't, Jack. He can't call his own plays.
No, I
Why
wouldn't.
not?
He's not even close.
Not?
He's not. You're talking about quarterbacks like Fran Tarkin and Terry Bradshaw. He's nowhere close to that caliber.
Even the great players today don't call their own plays. They check
Well,
off.
they can. A lot of them can.
But he checks off. He's given the ability. He doesn't have to run the play that's run in. He can go and change the play at the line of scrimmage. And there's been a lot of that. Part of the struggles of this offense is there's been confusion as they've tried to adjust at the line of scrimmage. He does have that ability. And you're right about the biggest surprise. Matt Patricia is a really smart guy, and I'm not going to, he had a bad experience with the Lions, but it was a bad organization. I'm not going to put that all on Matt Patricia. Joe Judge is a different story. But I'm shocked still that Belichick because this team's been known for putting players in a position to succeed, and that's why they get lesser talented players have done very well here, because they put them in positions where their talents can be utilized best. And he's not doing that with these two coaches. He's putting them in positions where they're set up to fail. And I think they would have been better off served when Josh McDaniel left, keeping the same offensive structure. For the most part, you could have made some tweaks to try to improve the running game and increase the play action opportunities, which is what they're really trying to do. And either elevated an assistant or brought a Bill O'Brien back, who replaced Josh McDaniel once and really didn't miss a beat. Now I know Tom Brady was his quarterback, so that helped. But that's the direction I would have gone. I'm still surprised that they brought these two guys in to fill these two jobs. Patricia, I want on my staff. Patriots needed help on defense too. They could have very easily put Patricia running the defense again, and not Steve Belichick.
What Mac once said, it's all about relationships. They had prior relationships with Bill Belichick, good ones, and Bill Belichick obviously wants them back. Now, strategizing this week, the Patriots on the surface are really up against it this week, going to Green Bay. Now, Bill Belichick, I get the feeling it's going to be a reversal. Normally, you would be scared of Aaron Rodgers beating you in the air, okay? But I think the Patriot defense is going to key on Aaron Jones, stop the Packer running game, and with their inexperienced receivers, okay, we'll take our chance and see what you could do beating us passing. And that would have been unthinkable if Devontae Adams was still there.
Agreed. But the problem is the weakest part of that defense is the pass defense, especially the corners. So, Rodgers should be able to find some guys open. I think you're right. They will try to take Jones out of the game because they've really handled the run pretty well this year. The Ravens didn't run the ball well Sunday except for Lamar Jackson. You take him out of the equation and they don't run the ball that well. So the traditional run games, the Patriots have pretty good success with for 3 games. It's giving up big plays on offense, throwing the football that's hurt them. The quarterbacks have made some strides, but even the safeties, Devin McCourty got beat on a play over the middle that Andrews scored a touchdown on. He had like a 5-yard gap on him that was a bit underthrown, so it didn't look so bad by the time it got caught. But even Devin McCourty, who's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, his game is, he's starting to show his age as well. So that secondary's the
Keith, that's going to happen. I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to get beat every once in a while. No one's 100%. So, no. McCourty's going to be fine. I think he just listen.
Oh, he's still a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's just
Yeah.
lost a step. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, what are the realistic expectations for the Patriots? With Buffalo losing Sunday, Miami losing last night, first place, it looks like a real long shot. But
No,
it's not completely out of the question, them contending for the division title if they can get it together. It still looks like a long shot, but all of a sudden they were given, a crack in the door for that to happen.
yeah, I never thought they were going to compete for the division. Buffalo's too good. I thought they would compete for a wild card. That would be a very good at this point. If Hoyer's going to play extended games here, competing for a wild card would be a very good outcome right now. After this Green Bay game, they've got four, maybe even 5 winnable games. But again, Brian Hoyer's my quarterback for at least 3 of them, most likely, unless Jones miraculous.
We wish you well. Let's switch the topic to the New York Yankees with Aaron Judge, because that's really, really the big news, Keith. And I'm not sure whether you got your Yankee card back. I'm certainly not getting mine back. I hope I don't get it back, because I hope the Yankees win the World Series. So I'll be on the commissioner's list, maybe a lifetime ban from Mac with getting it back or not. But the talk with Aaron Judge going on right now, it's about number 62. But as soon as he hits it, and we're assuming he hits it, even though nothing's going to be definite, he might hit a few more on top of it. I suspect he's going to have 64, 65 when all is said and done. But we'll see. It's going to be the Judge contract situation. That's going to be the big news of the winter. It's going to keep the Yankees in the news completely. And Mac and myself are talking. We don't know for sure what Aaron Judge is thinking as far as the Giants go at this point. Because when you grow up a Giant fan and you stay up late at night to watch Barry Bonds break the home run record and he's an idol of yours, it's a little scary if you're a Yankee fan at this point, because you could even match a Giant offer and he might be out of here. So it's scary at this point.
I think if the Yankees give him what he wants, match the Giants or match whoever, I don't think he leaves New York. He knows what he means at his franchise. He knows that he's better off as a New York Yankee for his career than going and splitting it and being a Giant.
I'm going to throw you a curveball, Keith. Think back to Andy Pettit, who went to Houston for 3 years. The Yankees took their time. At the very end, they offered him the same money the Houston Astros offered. But by that point, he'd had enough, and he said, I'm going home. And he went home, where he lives in Houston for 3 years, but then came back. And that cost Andy Pettit dearly, because had he stayed, he would have been the winningest pitcher in New York Yankee history. And he isn't.
In the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
He'd be in the Hall of Fame if he stayed with the Yankees.
He might have, if being the winningest pitcher in Yankee history, it would have given him a much better case.
The 2 cases are a little bit different, because while Pettit was part of the core of the Yankees, he wasn't the face of the Yankees. Aaron Judge is a face of the Yankees, so it's a little bit different in my mind. Aaron Judge went out there and bet on himself this year, and he's had one of the greatest offensive, even defensively, I guess, one of the great seasons in Major League history, with a normal size head as well.
Me and Jack talked about this before, about where Judge would go, where the opportunities are. I said he might even go to the Dodgers. It's pretty close to outbid everybody for him. So there's a chance of that. I still think he stays with the Yankees. I still think, like you said, being the face, the history of the Yankees, the crowds, the money he can make. I still think he stays with the Yankees, but their offer has got to be up there close to what the other teams are offering, Keith.
Oh, they've got it. He's not going to give him a hometown discount, and if he was going to do that, he'd have done it in March, right? But I don't think he needs to. The Yankees right now, especially after, I said this in April, before this historic season ever started, that the Yankees couldn't afford to let him walk because of what he meant to the franchise. Well, what's he mean to the franchise now after this great season? Tying Roger Maris's record, probably beating it before the season's over, maybe winning a triple crown. How are you going to justify letting him walk for any amount of money? Because this is the Yankees again. It's not the Royals. It's the Yankees. And this contract might end up being a crazy contract.
No, they can't go there. They can't go with a 10-year deal.
Guarantee you he get 10 years, $375 million. I'm going to tell you right now.
I might have to let him go. If it's 10 years, these 10-year deals are awful.
They're
Doesn't
matter.
Absolutely awful.
You know, but this is a totally different situation, Jack, because number one, they already know when you sign a guy who's 31 years old to a 10-year contract, you're not going to get, $37 million worth of a player at the back end. They know that. But what they're going to get from a marketing standpoint for him, putting people in the stands, increase TV revenue because you can charge more for TV rights and commercials and blah, blah, blah. Remember, they own a big part of the Yes Network still. Selling jerseys, they'll make their money back in half of that contract. They're not going to lose out on a $375 million contract to him. They're not.
What I'm mad about, and I've said it before, the Yankees didn't address this 3 years ago, the way other teams have been addressing it with their young, outstanding players. They should have given him a nice, substantial offer when they had the chance, have projected him as being the face of the Yankees, the heir apparent to Derek Jeter. They didn't do it. They waited 1 year before free agency, and then they gave him an offer, a fair offer, but one he absolutely should have rejected. If I was his agent, I would have told him, absolutely, you reject this offer.
Yeah.
Okay? And he rejected it. And now what might be, and this is what I'm scared, Aaron Judge might want to come back. He might have it in his head to come back. But if you have another team offering you $75 million more, you might have to give up on sentiment in Monument Park having the plaque and go for the $75 million more.
If it's $75 million, then he probably will walk. I'm saying the Yankees can't let that happen because it shouldn't be about money with the Yankees. Again, it's not like they're all
it will be at the end, but it will be. If the Yankees lose Judge, I could guarantee there's damage control. They're going to want to make another big signing. They're going to want to make a
splash, it won't matter.
Which is they want to get Ohtani in the worst way. So they would offer him the same type. They'd offer him the same type of money they should have offered Judge.
Don't
But they
disagree.
would have had Judge. Judge was homegrown. No matter how big Ohtani becomes here, and he'd be a superstar in New York, he'll never quite be the legacy player Judge was. I'm talking about the Jeter, Mickey Mantle, DiMaggio mold. He'll just be a massive superstar, but not a Yankee iconic superstar.
Well, first, Jack, Judge will get the plaque. Whether he leaves or not, Judge is getting a plaque.
Don't be so sure.
He'll get a plaque there no matter what.
Reggie got one for being there 5 years. They give a plaque to
They
everybody.
didn't want to sign Reggie after 5 years. That's a little bit of a difference.
He'll still get his plaque. I still think, and maybe I'm just hoping, I still think Judge stays with the Yankees, even for a little bit less. I really believe that he really cares about being part of this history, being known as one of the greatest Yankees of all time.
He's a pretty savvy guy. He's going to figure it out. But to Jack's point, too, the Yankees have a history. I've talked about it here. I talked about it in March when this first, came to a head. The Yankees, and I know George is long gone, but the organization has always loved other people's shiny toys more than their own.
Sure.
Historically, you talked about letting Pettit walk, but then they give, and again, CC Sabathia, a great player. But they go after the Sabathias, they go after the Stans, they go after the A-Rods, and they let the guys who, like Aaron Judge's, walk. They made Derek Jeter go out and look for his own contract 1 year, for crying out loud. They're willing to let Derek Jeter walk. They'll let anybody walk, and that's ridiculous. And they cannot let
embarrass Jeter. You know what I didn't like?
They did embarrass Jeter for sure. And if they embarrass Aaron Judge and let him walk, the fan base is going to rebel against his team.
I'm going to tell you, what they did with Jeter to me was unforgivable. Not the amount of money they offered him. That's business. Okay. I'm fine with what they offered but they went on a PR campaign to diminish Jeter while negotiations are going on. And Jeter said to them, the one thing he requested, the negotiations be completely private. He wanted nothing public. And Brian Cashman, Randy Levine, Hal Steinbrenner were basically indirectly trashing Jeter in public, putting the offer out there. And fans are fickle. Fans don't know what's going on for the most part. They really don't. They hear, oh, $15 million a year. If they hear that the Yankees offered Aaron Judge $15 million a year and they give him like 10 years, $15 million a year, $150 million, a lot of fans will go, he's greedy. He should take it even if he get $300 million elsewhere. I mean, that's how fans are. I mean,
that's why the Yankees released. That's why the Yankees released the amount that he was offered in the spring
money,
to try to get public favor against him. You know, so.
And it really backfired. And Judge's, I hate 10-year deals, guys. I absolutely
listen. I don't love him, but this is a different situation because there's so much more involved in just what he gives you on the field. There's so much more involved. Yankees will make money off of Aaron Judge for years after that 10-year contract is done.
Sure.
You know, so again, normally I would say yes, but in this case, it's different.
And they gave Garrett Cole a 9-year deal, age 27 to take 36, but $36 million a year. But my point is, Cole has been pretty good for the Yankees for 3 years. So far, is he a $36 million a year pitcher? No, but he has been pretty good. So it's not one of those contracts where you figure you're getting ripped off. He's kind of holding his own.
Let me ask you a question.
But if they offered him 36, Judge is worth more per year.
Let me ask you guys a question. Say the Yankees make the World Series. Where in the rotation do you put Garrett Cole?
He'll start game one.
It's an ace.
If he can.
He hasn't pitched like an ace, guys.
Doesn't matter.
Listen, if they do that, they're just stupid. You got three other pitchers that are a lot better than Garrett Cole that should be starting. I don't want to be depending on Garrett Cole to win the World Series, guys.
No, the only guy I'd even consider would be Nestor. Taillon is not better than Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole is going to, in his next start, I don't think he did it his last start, break the Yankee record for strikeouts in the season. Record for strikeouts in a single season.
Yeah.
Last year, he was runner-up for the Cy Young. I mean, he's been performing pretty well. But the problem with Garrett Cole, when you sign him, you wanted Roger Clemens type performances, and you're getting Andy Pettitte type performances. Maybe a shade better than Pettitte at most. So that's where the problems lie, which is pretty good, but not great. He's doing pretty good, but you want more than pretty good.
He's doing great for the other teams, giving up home runs, Jack. That's what he's doing good for. He gives up as soon as he gets in the first inning, home run.
Well, Mac, would you start Garrett Cole at all in the playoffs?
Probably wouldn't.
Maybe I give him a shot. Maybe I give him a shot.
I've heard Max say he stinks because if he stinks, he shouldn't pitch at all, I guess. But look, Garrett Cole, I think Jack's got this exactly right. He's not Roger Clemens, right? He's not that type of pitcher we thought maybe he was. But he's still a really good pitcher. He's been top 4 in the Cy Young 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a bad pitcher. He's has 250 strikeouts he's going to have.
250
Well, look at the ballpark he plays in. He plays in a Mickey Mouse ballpark, for crying out loud. Everybody gives up home runs there.
Excuse me, maybe.
I'm going to tell you, you can have it. I heard a debate a couple of weeks ago comparing Jacob deGrom to Garrett Cole. Now, obviously, Jacob deGrom is ahead of Garrett Cole, but who would you rather have? Would you rather have a Jacob deGrom who's one of the at the top of his game, the way he's been one of the greatest pitchers, you could say, in the history of baseball. You know, not record-wise, not longevity, but when he's at the top of his game. Or would you rather have Garrett Cole, who you know is always going to pitch, or Jacob deGrom, who's out a lot? That's an interesting question. Who's a better bet to have, the guy who's dependable, always there, or the guy who you don't know whether he'll be there for you, who's lights out?
I don't know what you guys are watching. I have no idea. Derek Cole is not dependable. Derek Cole is dependable for the other team.
He's talking about going out there and pitching every day, which he does. He never misses.
He pitches well on balance. On balance, he pitches well, Garrett Cole.
We're never going to commit. We're taking your Garrett Cole card away, Mac.
No, with the Yankees, their bullpen, what's ever happened to Adonis Chapman?
Let me go back to Cole for 1 second, because I wanted to answer your question about DeGrom. DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. But the problem is he's one pitch away all the time from his career probably being over.
Yeah.
So I would take Garrett Cole in that situation every time.
Sure.
How would you guys feel?
That wasn't a question, though, Mac. I agree. That wasn't a question posed to
I
me.
got to throw it in there. Scherzer is probably, it would be the pitcher.
I would take Scherzer, yes. But of the two guys I was given a choice of, I would take Cole. I would take Scherzer over either one of them, yes.
Let's say, Steve, you know, if George Steinbrenner was still around, he'd make the boldest of moves. Let's say the Mets swooped in. Steve Cohen paid crazy money to get Aaron Judge, $48 million a year for 10 years. And with George Steinbrenner then counter and get Jacob deGrom. I can see George Steinbrenner doing that. Let's say that trade-off happened and Judge went to the Mets and the Yankees pulled the boldest of moves and they swooped in and got Jacob deGrom, who, let's say Jacob deGrom loves New York, felt disrespected by the Mets and went to the Yankees. How would you feel about that trade-off? Would you be kind of excited and went figure, wow, if deGrom stays healthy, we're actually maybe a little better off?
No, I couldn't be excited. I might be excited after I've already lost Judge and been ticked off about that I took deGrom away from the Mets. But if you're telling me at the time, both these things happened at the same time, and is it a better move for the Yankees? No. Aaron Judge staying a Yankee is better than losing him and bringing in deGrom. Because George would have paid him about, he would have given him a 10-year contract, even with his arm problems, and he would have pitched a half a season like Don Gullett, and that would have been it.
There's no way, I'm going to tell you, there's no way with George Steinbrenner that Judge would be going anywhere, because I think during this season, George Steinbrenner may have sat down and said a 10-year deal, here's $45 million a year. You'll only be able to get slightly more if you're a free agent. And I think even Judge's people would have said to him, wow, looking at this, we're not going to do much better on the free agent market, no matter what you do going forward. Let's just sign the darn deal. And I think it would have, with George Steinbrenner, who was maligned by Yankee fans, they hated him. They said, oh, George bought this.
He died, and they canonized him.
Players today.
People think George, the revisionist history of George Steinbrenner always baffles me. When he died, he was a savior of the Yankees. He came in here and you know what? They built, I'll give him credit in the 70s when he helped rebuild that team, but he also caused a lot of chaos. But then he ripped the team apart for over a decade and a half. And they didn't get good until he was suspended and Gene Michael and Buck Showalter rebuilt that team. So when he died, God rest his soul. I'm not trying to bash a dead guy here, but there was this revisionist history that George Steinbrenner was just responsible for all this Yankee success through the 90s, and no, he wasn't. He just wasn't. And you know what? I'm not sure he'd do what you think with Judge, because I think George Steinbrenner would see that shiny toy out in Anaheim and say that guy pitches too.
Yeah. He won him also.
Yeah, well, I don't. But he would take him over Judge. Is my point.
Yeah, and not only that,
Tony, Mac. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh,
I was going to say that you still got a guy named Mike Trout out there too, right? One of the greatest ball players of all time. So if you teamed him up with Ohtani, that would be a heck of a package.
Well, he's already teamed up with him.
Well,
They're
I
doing-
mean, what are you going to give? Trout's not a free agent. He's got a lot of years left in his contract at big money, you know, over 35 million a year.
You know, I have to laugh too at the people who get on Judge about not being able to stay healthy, but preach that Mike Trout's the best player in baseball. He can't stay on the field at all.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a great player, but they
Well,
got
no,
you
he's had
already
injuries.
have Ohtani and Trout on a team now, and they can't. They're 20 games out of first place.
True again.
Yeah, Ohtani yesterday had a no-hitter going into the 8th inning against the Athletics. We all agree Judge is absolutely the MVP this year. It would be ludicrous not for him not to be the MVP because it's called most valuable player, not best player. Even though I think Judge has been the best player, but hypothetically speaking, if it wasn't called the most valuable player award, it would be called best player of the year. Now it's not ridiculous to have Ohtani in the discussion. It's very valid to have him in the discussion. I say Judge still wins it
So would
with
I.
some room to spare, but it's now debatable. What do you guys think?
It's a closer race, definitely, if you change the name. But I think at this point, Judge is still a better player than Ohtani because he's a better offensive player. I mean, he can go out and pitch. Judge can't pitch. I get it. Right. And he's a tremendous, tremendous athlete. And I take nothing away from Ohtani, but I would still give the award to Judge this year. And as far as valuable, yes, it should be a runaway. Judge should be unanimous MVP this year.
Yeah.
It won't happen because ESPN loves Ohtani, right? They're
You know
busy.
who I'm mad at,
right now.
guys? I'm mad at CC Sabathia. CC came out a week or two ago and he said, "Oh, I love Aaron Judge like a little brother, but Ohtani's the MVP." This is CC. I feel betrayed. Phil Nevin, the Angel manager, said the same thing. He used to be with the Yankees, a coach. He says he loves Aaron Judge. You know, he's like a son to him. You know, that nonsense. But Ohtani's the real MVP. I could forgive Phil Nevin. He's the Angel manager. Okay, fine. But CC Sabathia, and CC is flat out wrong. He's flat out wrong. But to make that statement, I feel it's kind of like a betrayal in a way. There was no need for him to make that statement, you know, what before the vote is taking place.
And you know, guys, don't the pitchers get enough awards as it is? They get the
Cy Young as well.
Cy Young. They can get the MVP. Some have gotten that in the past. So don't they get enough awards as it is? I mean, how many awards do you want to give these guys?
Well, position players. Let me just say one thing, guys. When you talk about legacy, I just want to, before we wrap up the Aaron Judge, well, he understands if he stays with the Yankees, what it is for his legacy, you know, be a Yankee legend. Just think of Freddie Freeman. Him being with the Braves organization had the same impact to him. It meant everything. He loved it in Atlanta. He loved being a Brave legend. They loved him there. It's somehow, once a guy gets to free agency, all bets are off. Now, Freddie Freeman's with the Dodgers. If the Dodgers win the World Series this year, it's turned out very nicely for Freddie Freeman in a way because he becomes part of Dodger history as well. But things happen.
What about the other side, though? How bad is it for the Braves when they let their leader, who they would need the most right now, coming into this Mets series and into the playoffs? Freddie Freeman was the leader in the face of that franchise. And if they don't repeat and the Dodgers do, then the Braves have big egg on their face for not getting him back.
Well, the guy they signed, Matt Olson from the Oakland A's, even though his batting average isn't too impressive, it hovers around 250. He's knocked in a ton of runs.
If I want to look at the numbers, you're right, but it's more than the numbers when you're talking about Freddie Freeman and the Braves, Aaron Judge and the Yankees. It's more than just the numbers they put up in the field.
No, I agree with that. Speaking of the Mets, I mean, how do you, Keith, if the Mets let this get away from them, okay, and they don't win the division and they've had a handle on it all season long, and the Braves steal it this weekend, I mean, how much a downer is that going to be? Unless the Mets rebound and go to the World Series, how much does it hurt?
Yeah, I talked about this a couple times last week or two that, there is some drama that's lost, right? Because in this division race, because the loser's going to be in the playoffs. Yes, they got to play in the wild card. Yes, they get 3 games at home. But outside of the fact that just the fact you got to play an extra series, you don't get the rest, you don't get to line up your pitching. Emotionally and mentally, I said the same thing, that I think it's important the Mets hang on and win this division because they will be affected emotionally and mentally if they don't after leading basically wire to wire. I'm not sure if they were ever out of first place. They might have been for a day or two in April, but I don't remember them being out of first place all year. So I think it would be a letdown for sure.
I agree.
You know what's funny? I'm writing a boxing story now. Things that used to be common that are no longer common in the sport, like fight posters. They used to be big. They'd be all over town. Baseball, what used to be a common term. If a little kid comes over to you and goes, "Mr. Engel, what's a pennant race?" Who knows what a pennant race is? Those used to be magic words to us.
I still say it, right? And it's not even accurate, I guess, but
Okay, getting to a topic, Keith, that's, are we holding it too long? Can you stay?
No, you're good. I'm good.
Okay. A topic of yours that's a little more enjoyable to talk about than Brian Hoyer, but still a little painful at times. What about the New York Knicks? I mean, before we know it, the season's going to be upon us, and then training camp right now. And I don't think the Knicks are that bad. I think they're good enough to be a play-in team and maybe possibly a playoff team, but a play-in team, I think they're there right now for that.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's, what we are shooting for, right? But yes, they should be at least a play-in tournament team. I think they should be better than that. Yeah. It depends on some decisions they make, right? I think they got some tough decisions to make. I play Grimes and bench Fournier for sure. I make Grimes a starter. It's going to matter what Julius Randle does, obviously. Does he come back and resemble the player from 2 years ago more than last year's guy? Come in better shape, come in with the attitude that he had 2 years ago, and realize that, everything's not going to run through him all the time because, RJ Barrett now is becoming the man on this team. That's just inevitable. I do like the kid, the center that they got from San Diego. I can't remember his name now. Not San Diego. LA Clippers. Sorry. So I think there's some pieces here where they can compete, and if they don't at least make the play-in tournament, then everybody's gone. Thibodeau, Rose, everybody's out of here. Because
well, the Knicks have done something they haven't done forever, right? They signed a big free agent, Brunson. And Brunson is a guy especially in the playoffs, he comes alive.
Yeah.
Great distributor board, great shooter, gets everybody involved in the game. He's going to really pick the next game up a lot. I definitely think they're going to be finishing probably in the top 4. I'm going to go out on a limb and say in the top 4 with the team they have now. I
did that last year.
Their defense is going to be 100% better than it was last year with the addition of the center. Brunson's a good defender. Of course, Randall's tenacious on the when he's at his best. So I really think they got a really good shot this year, guys.
I'll say
wait.
I can't go 4. I went 4 last year and I got bitten.
I think they got the talent to do it, Keith. I really do.
Wait.
A lot too, but don't forget he had one of the best players in the NBA playing with him to get the ball to in Dallas too. So that's a big difference.
Wait for the Knicks to go top 4, okay? They're going to have to beat out one of the following teams. Do you see them beating out the 76ers?
No.
Milwaukee Bucks?
No.
Boston Celtics?
Maybe
because of the chaos going on there.
Okay, so you think the Celtics may have really slipped. Brooklyn Nets?
Maybe.
Okay, so you're feeling okay for Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yes. I think they could beat him.
Oh, guys, you two are so off base. You're going to hear it from me.
That's
because
okay.
Yours truly is going out on the limb. Listen to this.
Hot take from Jack.
I am picking the Cleveland Cavaliers to win the NBA championship.
Whoa.
They are going to win the NBA championship. The Knicks never should have traded Jared Allen in that James Harden deal. I wouldn't have traded him even up for James Harden. Jared Allen is already establishing himself as, a great center. I mean, grabs a ton of rebounds. His shooting percentage is amongst the best in the league. I mean, he's a great defensive force there. And them getting Donovan Mitchell and having Mobley, I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be absolutely outstanding.
I think they might be a year or two away. That's all. But they're
But
very
if they do, let's say Cleveland makes a serious run at the NBA title. And Donovan, obviously, that would have to be done with Donovan Mitchell being a star and being outstanding. Otherwise, it couldn't happen without Donovan Mitchell. And the Knicks are so-so. And let's say they have a mediocre year. They were playing in the play-in tournament. Are Knicks fans going to start revolting? We could have had Donovan Mitchell. We could have this. We could have that. Is the Donovan Mitchell effect going to be lingering over the Knicks organization all season?
I guess it depends on how well he plays and how well the Cavaliers do. If the Cavaliers are as good as you think they are, then yeah, I think you're going to hear about a lot about what Donovan Mitchell is doing and how he's helping the Cavaliers. If they don't, and the Knicks are better than them, I don't think you hear that much after the first part of the season.
Well, a big team, one of the most historic teams in the NBA, the Lakers, they'll be playing again. They still got Westbrook, if I'm not mistaken. They still have Westbrook. They got James, and they got the big forward there. I can't think of his name real quick here.
Anthony Davis.
Yes, they get injured a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis has been injured every year he's been playing. LeBron James comes up limping and those fake flops. I think.
Unless we're NBA
A lot of
champions,
minutes on him.
James and Davis. Remember that. They've already proven themselves. They won an NBA title. Even if they don't win anymore, they were a success together.
Yeah.
But Russell Westbrook, I mean, if they offered him the Lakers to the Knicks straight out, just take him. You don't have to give us anything in return. Just take his salary, the whole bit. Keith, do you take him?
A year ago, I said no. I might think about it now. If you just give me for nothing, pay a salary, maybe. But I don't know that they can do that, by the way, and be under the cap. So,
Now, the question's this: a debate. We had a debate question Saturday. If one of them you had to bet on one of them to be a solid citizen all season long, no turmoil, buy-in. Ben Simmons or Kyrie Irving, who do you put your money on?
well, that's a good question. Ben Simmons.
You put it on Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Okay.
because, other than the fact that he doesn't seem to want to play basketball, he's not necessarily a bad guy. That's an important part of the character
He doesn't
thing.
have to pay. He doesn't have to play. He's getting paid.
I had to laugh. Did you see Steve Nash's comments? This is why I don't think the Nets are going to be any good, by the way. He says, I don't care if Ben Simmons doesn't want to shoot a jump shot all year long. I don't care.
Well, he's trying to take the pressure off of
I
Ben
understand,
Simmons.
but come on. Coddling this guy. Tell him to get on the court or take his contract away.
Yeah, and with Kyrie, I think Kyrie's going to be good this year. I'm going to tell you why he's going to behave himself this year, because he was kind of humbled. He saw he was a restricted free agent last year, and no one was offering him a deal. But the Nets didn't have to match anything. So he decided, I better take my 1-year option and reestablish my value. Now, if he has a great year, he plays hard all year from beginning to end. There's no turmoil. There's no controversy. There might be a couple of teams that might offer him the big money, the big contract next year in the offseason, because he would have been really, really good for you. And let's say the Nets win and make a run. Maybe even the Nets would do it if he establishes himself as a major favorite in Brooklyn.
I don't know. Well, first of all, I think the odds of nothing coming up during the course of the year is about 0. And look at this team. I think is going to is going to implode. You got a nucleus of this team that is being forced to play together. None of them want to be there or play. They're all there because they couldn't get where they wanted to go. And I just don't see how this is ever going to work out for this team. They didn't want the coach, by the way. We also don't want to play with each other, but we're expecting great things out of the Nets and Kyrie Irving.
What I don't understand, tell me this. All reports from the beginning that Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving's approval, signed off on Steve Nash being the net coach. They were very happy about it in the beginning. But what went wrong exactly as far as Steve Nash went with those guys where, Kevin Durant wanted him out?
I think part of it is he tied him to the GM and the fact that they let Kyrie do what he did last year and not get rid of him, and let him play only home. Only home. What was it? He couldn't play home games, right? Couldn't play home games. So I think part of that is lingering as a problem. The same reason Harden wanted out of there. Durant turned on his handpicked coach, by the way. I don't think he signed off on him. I think he picked the coach. Again, that's what happens, though. You bring in a guy, and I gave Steve Nash props that first year because I thought he did a great job keeping the Nets playing as well as he did with all these guys they brought together, playing like 9 games together. I thought he did a great job and wasn't getting the credit he deserved. Well, I think last year it started to kind of show that he doesn't have the experience handling these big egos. And giving them and coddling the way they want to be coddled. And I think that's what Kevin Durant decided. This guy's not the guy who's going to help us win a championship. And I want him out of here, even though I'm the guy who wanted him in here.
And the biggest problem with Durant is, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Without a doubt.
He's not a leader. The guy does not want to. He doesn't want to take the bull by the horns. He doesn't want to stand up to Kyrie. So Durant, I think, is a bigger problem maybe than Kyrie is.
It's possible, and he doesn't come off as such because he kind of is able to kind of deflect some of that criticism, I think, Mac. But I think you're right. He is one of the best players in the NBA and has been for a long time, and he's not a leader. The teams he was asked to lead didn't win.
No.
Oklahoma City didn't win.
Well,
he won in Golden State because he wasn't expected to be the leader there.
Right.
That's why.
Well, when he was with OKC, Durant, we didn't know what Russell Westbrook was. Russell Westbrook was an electrifying one-on-one player, great stats, and we didn't even know at that time who was a better player, Durant or Westbrook, because they were pretty equal at OKC, but it didn't work together. So then Durant signs with Golden State, but Golden State already had a culture in place, leadership in place, and they were tremendously successful. See, he wasn't going to go there and be a leader. He was just going to fit in.
It's exactly my point, though. He can't lead a team on his own. He's not that guy.
He could have the Nets, but he had the opportunity with the Nets. But then again, maybe not, because the reason he came to the Nets because Kyrie Irving was his buddy and had him come along. They decided they'd rather be with the Nets than the Knicks.
Well, you are who your friends are, I guess, is what my grandmother always told me.
Thank you for not coming to the Knicks. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. And again, he's not on the court enough. Look at this. I see this being a very bad year for Brooklyn.
You want if you had to say right now off the top of your head, where do you see them? They were 7th seed last year.
Right, they were in the play-in tournament, right?
No. Wait a second. No, I think they were in the.
I think they went out in the playoff tournament. I think. Take a quick look here.
Okay, they were relevant. I thought they had a 7th seed.
Let me take a quick look. I could be wrong, but I thought they were in the play-in tournament. Went out in that.
I think you're
right. Might be thinking of. Let me see here.
I think you're right.
Yeah, they were 7th, but which puts them in the play-in tournament. Yeah, they went out
because of the top 6. Right.
Right.
So we were both right because I'm thinking in terms top 8 teams
Mhm.
of playoffs, but I forgot top 6 and then the next
Right.
4 like a play-in tournament teams.
And they
Yeah,
went out in that first round, I believe. So
right. So you got to be top 6 to avoid the play-in tournament. So it's hard, it's a little harder to be a playoff team. I don't like this play-in nonsense. Just make X amount of playoffs and
well, I think they put it into play during the COVID season. Didn't they put that in as part of that? And then they kind of liked it, so they stuck with it. But
I just don't like the way the NBA is set up at all. I mean, the regular season pretty much means nothing as long as you're in the top 8. They got so many playoff games. I think it's longer than a regular season almost. I just don't like the way the whole thing is set up over there.
yeah, no one remembers the regular season, unfortunately. It's just the playoffs, who wins the championship.
Yeah.
Like last year in baseball, the Atlanta Braves were 18 games behind the Dodgers, technically, if they were in the same division during the season. But they got to square off against them in the playoffs, beat them, won the World Series. Braves are celebrated as World Series champions, but they didn't have a good season. And the Dodgers had a great season. The Giants were even a game better than the Giants. Giants won 107 games, Dodgers 106, but the Braves at 88 wins win the World Series.
you had the same situation the year before with the Nationals. The same way.
And I'm going to tell you, there's a difference with the Yankees and Mets this year with the World Series. Mets, I think, are under a lot less pressure. If they hang on and win the division and they get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, of course, Met fans will be a little disappointed, but no one's going to be too upset. They're going to say, well, no, something. We had a really good year. We won 100 games. We came in first place. We beat the Braves out. We'll get him next year. We have an owner that's going to make moves. I think Met fans are going to still be happy. Yankees, if they go to the American League Championship Series and let's say lose to Houston in 7 games, 1 game short of the World Series, fans are going to be unhappy. They're going to say we have it led by Keith Engel. If he's still a fan officially, Mac, did you give me?
I will be a fan. I will always be a fan.
You're not allowed to be a fan according to Mac unless you have your card.
I said this publicly, but Mac doesn't get to choose whether I'm a fan or not. But he's got the card. That's what he's got. I'll give him that.
And Keith definitely is a member, has a card. Jack, you're still out of it.
But Keith Engel is going to lead the chance. Well, they haven't been to the World Series since 2009. Get rid of Brian Cashman. So
I am.
You're under more pressure if you're a Yankee fan. You have a lot more urgency if you're a Yankee fan. Also, you get the feeling, guys, just the feeling that the Yankee window would close sooner than the Met window. I don't mean the Yankee window is closing, but with Steve Cohn there, the window is opening up more and more all the time, and the Yankee window just seems to be sliding down a little. And if Judge leaves, the window's going to be going down a little more.
Jack,
I'm much younger too.
I disagree with you about the Mets being happy with getting there and losing. I think the Mets' expectations since Steve Cohen has become the owner are way up there right now. I think they expect to go to World Series and win it this year.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Pete Alonso's a forgotten man. Man, he's leading the NL and RBIs. He's having a phenomenal year. But with this Aaron Judge talk, Pete Alonso slipped completely under the radar. What a year is he having? Lindor's having a heck of a year. Even though I hate that 10-year contract.
There's a lot of guys in baseball having great. Goldschmidt for the Cardinals is having a great year. He had a shot at the Triple Crown here until the last 2 weeks.
And Pujols hit the home run record. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's been a great baseball season. It really has so far.
Yeah.
Do you think Pujols might change his mind? He's doing so well. Maybe he might decide to come back.
No, I think he'll go now that he got his 700 and he's only the 4th guy to get it.
I don't know.
And the only 3rd guy with a normal size head to have 700 home runs, by the way.
I don't know, Keith. If you still love the game and you're still healthy, why not come back and
I
play?
think he'd be smart to walk away. He got hot. No, he wasn't having a very good year till the middle of August. Don't forget, he got just caught fire. So I think he sticks to it and walks away.
Okay, speaking of coming back, we're going to come back tomorrow. Big thanks to Keith Engel from TJI Sports. Keith is a regular on this show. I mean, maybe
Yes.
we should give him his own title with this show or something. But
I'm thinking about renegotiating the contract. You guys should have offered me more back in March.
you were the one that signed the long term. You didn't bet on yourself, Keith.
And there's no opt out clause. No opt out
No
clause either.
opt-outs, no escalators in your contract. You got to play it out unless
Yes.
Mac wants to win. The Yankees win the World Series. If Keith has one clause in, if they win the World Series, Keith is allowed to renegotiate, or Brian Hoyer takes the Patriots to the playoffs.
Yeah,
to
yeah, that would be something. That
The
ain't
Hoyer
happening.
wins the playoff game.
I guess you guys won't owe me a nickel.
Right.
Okay, guys. So for everyone out there, thanks for listening. See you tomorrow on the debate show with myself, Mac, and Dr. Paul Semendingo. All the best. Have a good day.
Have a
Good
great
weekend,
day.
guys.
Thanks again, Keith.
Thank you.